Again, my name is Katie Thompson, and I'm with Virginia Commonwealth University Autism Center for Excellence, and we are delighted to have you here with us for Lunch and Learn. And we also are really excited to have one of our team members from our partner center, the Center on Transition Innovations, joining us, Karen Acom, joining us to talk a little bit about life after high school and some of the things that CTI has available to help guide folks that are working on that important time in life and transitioning from school into what comes after high school. And so Karen, with that, if it's all right, I'm going to hand it over to you so you can share a little bit more about yourself and tell us what CTI has to tell us today.
Sure. Thanks, Katie.
Yeah.
So I joined the Center on Transition Innovations in August of 2020. But before that, I worked in K-12 education as a teacher and an administrator. And I've also taught some college courses. And so I feel like transition has always been a part of what I've thought about and felt really passionate about. And I was lucky enough in one of my positions to work with a phenomenal transition team, which really brought me that depth of knowledge that I needed to help the students that I worked with be successful after high school. And I was really excited to schedule this Lunch and Learn this time of year because it's that time we start thinking about graduation. I started seeing the signs up in the stores and the balloons being advertised and all the banners you can get and the flags you can buy and how exciting the season of graduation is, but it's also sometimes intimidating, I think, when we don't feel like we're ready for what's coming next. And so what I want to talk about today are a few courses that CTI has that can help students really decide where they want to go and plan for how to get there. But before we get too deep into it, I wanted to ask you all, if you can, to, use the Annotate tool in your Zoom. And if you're on a phone and you can't annotate, feel free to type in the chat, and Katie has agreed to annotate for us. But if you are a self-advocate or a caregiver or a practitioner, if you could just put a little annotation on this screen to let me know kind of who's in this group, since I can't see all your faces. Okay, so it seems like we're pretty heavy on the adult side of participants, that we're mostly practitioners and caregivers, and that is fantastic. And that kind of helps me shape some of the things we will talk about throughout the course of our time together today. Okay, I'm not put the right thing. Okay, so CTI has 3 courses in their Get Ready series. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the series at all, or if this is kind of a brand new idea, but I want to give you a few basics about these. The first is these are all free courses. All of the resources that CTI publishes on the website are designed to be free and accessible for everyone. And these 3 courses in particular are designed for students, and they are self-paced. What happens is you enter the course by registering. You do need to give your name and an email address, but you only get one email after you do that that just says, hey, thanks, this is your confirmation for joining our course. It doesn't sign you up for an email every day. It's just to give you access to the course. I say that first because if you're a practitioner or a caregiver, you might choose to enter the course as a whole group with a group of students or with a young person and use your email. Or what I would recommend is if we're at the age where we're talking about transition or we're thinking about transition, then we should be learning how to have an email that we use for professional and scholastic activities. All applications now for jobs, colleges, universities, just about anything require an email address. And getting into that habit of having an email address and checking it. This is one of those easy steps to do that because it's not going to fill an inbox with a lot of junk mail. And I think the courses are designed to be used individually, but you can progress through all three depending on the level of need with the youth that you're working with. So you might have a student who is not interested in college at all. You don't have to take the Get Ready for College course in order to access Get Ready for Your Career or Get Ready for Independent Living. You really can pick and choose which parts are applicable to the role you're trying to fill at the time. So I'm going to ask you guys to participate again, and this time we can just use reactions, or you can throw a yes or in the chat if that's quicker for you. How many of you, when you were 16, knew exactly what you were going to be when you grew up? Anybody?
I'm seeing some reactions over on the side. It looks like some no's and I don't know. Is that a scared face? I'm not sure.
Thanks, Katie. So if anybody, so I knew at 16, I knew what I was going to be when I grew up. I knew when I was 2 what I was going to be when I grew up, and it didn't change until I was 19. But if you asked me at 16, I knew what I was going to be. Am I in that career field now? Absolutely not. So even those of us that know for sure what we're going to be, it doesn't mean that's where we're going to end up. Now, how many of you, it's another hard question, how many of you have worked with a student or a young person that was determined that they were going to be a professional athlete or a famous YouTuber when they grow up? Thank you, Stacy. I see your thumbs up. How and Stacy, if you can take your thumb down, did your student that was going to be a professional athlete or a famous YouTuber actually become a professional athlete or a famous YouTuber?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Now, I want to share with you guys, I asked that question at the Council for Exceptional Children conference in January, and I had like 70 people raise their hand that they'd worked with youth who were going to be professional athletes. And I had 2 people keep their hand up that their student became a professional athlete. So that's not an unrealistic goal for everyone. But the problems that we face as practitioners and caregivers is helping a student figure out if it really is a realistic goal. And so that's one of the things that these courses do in a very non-threatening way. I play soccer. I started playing soccer when I was 35. I have absolutely no skill at soccer. So if I were to say to somebody, oh, I'm going to be a professional soccer player, I hope that they would say, that's not really an appropriate goal for you. But doing that in a way that doesn't hurt feelings, or what I used to think of it as like crushing dreams. Like, I don't want to crush anybody's dreams. But I also want people to think about, do their dreams match who they really are and what they really like to do and what they need to be supported. And so each of the courses, particularly Get Ready for Your Career, deep dives into figuring out a person's spin. That's their strengths, their preferences, their interests, and their needs. So what are you already really good at? If you think about the profession that you're in, most of us have ended up working in a field where we already have some strengths. There's already parts of what we do that we were good at before we learned our actual job responsibilities. Your preferences. Do you like to be outside? Do you like to do things with your hands? Or do you want to sit in an office all day? Do you want to work with a team of people, or do you want people to leave you alone and let you do your own thing? Those preferences are huge when we're looking towards what we want to be in our career. Because if you want to be outside and you want to work in teams and you end up in a cubicle by yourself, you're not going to be very happy in your career. And then it's not going to end up being a long-term job. And what we really want is for everyone to be employed in a job that they enjoy, that makes them feel good, that they can progress in over time. Also, these courses help us set transition goals that are really student-centered. I have lots of goals for my personal children. If their goals don't match my goals, I'm not doing them any good pushing them towards my goals. I need to be building goals that are based around their strengths and their preferences, their interests and their needs. And that's how I know we're going to get to successful adulthood. So looking in terms of every activity in the courses is student-centered, student-focused. So the adults that might be facilitating the course or helping students work through some of the activities, they're not the most important person in the course. The most important person in the course is the young person that's trying to figure out their goals. And then it helps begin, and I put in this or revise action plans. There are some students, I mean, as I said, like I knew what I was going to be when I was 16. I'm not there, but I had an action plan and I followed it until I realized that I didn't really want to be a paleontologist because digging in the dirt wasn't as fun as I thought it was going to be, right? But I had the plan. I was kind of a super nerd. I probably still am a super nerd, to be honest, right? But there are some students that already have plans and they might just need a little tweaking to get where they're going. And there are other students that if you ask them what their plan was, their plan is they're hoping they're going to make it to school the next day and make it through the day and turn in their assignments and not, do something embarrassing. So these courses help students set those goals and then think through, how do I get to that goal? And not only how do I get there, but who is going to help me get there along the way? Because none of us, and I feel really confident, and if you argue about this point in the chat, we can talk later, but none of us got to where we are as productive adults in a bubble, right? All of us have somebody that's been a cheerleader or a supporter or a critical friend to tell us when we're going the wrong way. We all have somebody. This course actually has the youth identify, who are the adults in my life and in what areas of my life are those adults that are going to help me to reach these goals, which I think is really cool. So I want to talk a little about each course. There are 3. The beauty of them for me as a practitioner, using these in the classroom, is they are all set up in a very consistent way. So if you plow through, Get Ready for Your Career, you're going to know exactly what to expect as far as the format of the online course for Get Ready for College and Get Ready for Independent Living. It is very user-friendly, and the courses are really engaging. So each course has an introductory section that tells you what to expect, connects you with the course objectives and basic course outline. But each section of the course has videos. And because CTI really wanted to make these engaging, they are short videos. They are to the point. They have people that are much younger and better on camera than I am as the people in the video, so that they're more engaging for the target audience of the youth that we're trying to engage in these courses. So the video presents all of the basic information for each section. And then there's 3 components that come after the videos. One is the fascinating facts. It's like a great quick summary of the information that was in the videos. So it's a good review sheet. It's actually one of the things I used it for when I was in the classroom was I would print out the fascinating fact and use that as a discussion starter after my students had watched the videos on their own. And that way we had discussion prompts and things to talk about. Then there's portfolio activities. Each of these activities, if a young person does the activity in the portfolio, at the end of the course, you have this wealth of knowledge. Each course will have practice activities focused on the topics at hand. So in the Get Ready for Your Career course, the first portfolio activity is doing a career search and doing some interest inventories and figuring out careers and career pathways. And then the next section leads you on to building more into setting an actual goal for a specific career and deciding which pathway to take to get there. And then whether that involves college or you're going to go right to work or what other kind of training you might need. But it's all laid out in those portfolio activities. And if you are a practitioner in a school system and you're writing IEPs, these portfolios are golden. I mean, they are just very helpful because it's the student's voice. And we all want to have that embedded in our IEPs because the IEP isn't about us, it's about the youth we're working with. And then there's expanding your knowledge. So each section is, has critical information in that short video, the fascinating facts and the portfolio activity. But sometimes you need to learn more about one piece of that lesson. And so the expanding your knowledge lists somewhere between 5 and 10 videos, websites, activities that you can choose to do to learn more. So you could open an expanding your knowledge and look at it and think, oh no, I've got 1 and 2 down. I don't need to do that, but oh, I really should watch that video they suggested in the 3rd part because that's something that I might still struggle with. This is also one of those things as a practitioner that you can look at the student's portfolio and say, it really does look like they got it, but I'm going to encourage them to do this particular expanding your knowledge activity. So you can individualize it for the group in your classroom because not everyone is going to want to use the same expanding your knowledge activity because they're not all going to need the same exact thing. So I wanted to dig into the courses themselves and show you a couple of the videos and some of the resources, but I would love to know which course you'd like to take a deeper look at. So we'll try this annotate thing one more time. So if you annotate career, college, or independent living, and if you can't annotate, feel free to throw it in the chat, and Katie's masterminding, annotating, and chatting at the same time. Y'all are putting it a very close vote here. Okay, so I like the bold annotation. You guys are awesome. Okay, so looks like we are very even for all 3 of the courses. So what I'll do is I'll show a couple videos, one from career, one from independent living, and then we will open up at least a resource from college and a resource from independent living, just to make sure you guys see a little bit of each course.
Welcome to Get Ready for Your Career. We are so excited that you are here to learn more about how you can explore and plan for your future career. The key to preparing for success after you graduate high school is to start thinking about it right now. You may be saying to yourself, how can I do that with everything else going on in my life? Or, I'll figure that out once I graduate. The truth is, planning for your future while in school will save you time, money, and most importantly, lead to career satisfaction. This course will guide you through a career planning process to help you identify careers that match your interests. When you finish this course, you will have the knowledge and the tools needed to find the career that's right for you. This course will walk you through the 4 main steps of the career planning process. Step 1. You will learn the importance of taking control of your future and knowing who you are. This knowledge plays an important role in finding a career that is right for you. Step 2. You will explore and research careers you're likely to enjoy based on what you learned about yourself. Step 3 will help you figure out your education and training options and determine the path that is best for you. Also, you will learn how you can begin preparing for your career now. And step 4, you will develop an action plan with the steps you will need to take to reach your career goals. You will also learn about the resources available to help you put your plan into action. As you go through the course, there are a few things that I want you to be on the lookout for. If you see an important icon or hear us say something important, write it down. Review the information and talk to your teachers or family about it. If you see an action icon or hear us mention something you need to do, take action. This means we are giving you a tip to take action so you are one step closer to finding careers that match your interests. At the end of each lesson, you will find a portfolio activity. These activities are really important and will walk you through the 4 steps of the career planning process. Also, each lesson will provide you with an expanding your knowledge document. Take advantage of these resources. These activities will help you learn more about the information in each lesson while helping you plan and prepare for your career. It's time to get ready for your career. Let's get started.
Okay, so that was the introduction for the Get Ready for Your Career course. And each course has a similar introduction with those tips to remind youth which things to pay close attention to and what to expect as they move forward in the course. This video is specific to the latest course, which is the Get Ready for Independent Living. And what I will say is this course, Get Ready for College and Get Ready for Your Career, follow a process. You know, we start kind of really at the beginning, thinking about things, setting goals, and building that portfolio and the action plan. Get Ready for Independent Living is 4 separate modules. They all relate, but they aren't in a progression like career and college. And these 4 modules are decision making, healthy relationships, finance, and transportation. And those 4 modules were chosen based on input that we received from stakeholders and many, many, many parents about what are those skills that really students don't seem to be mastering and that they need a little more guidance on. So this video is one of the first in the transportation section of that course.
Getting around in the community is a key part of independent living. To get to the places that you want to go, you need to develop transportation skills. Knowing how to access and use transportation in your community will increase your independence. So, you may be wondering, what exactly are transportation skills? Transportation skills include the ability to plan for a trip, get where you need to go, and navigate safely around your community. Think about all the places that you go now. Do you go to school, the grocery store, church, restaurants, or sporting events? How do you get to those places? Do you get there by bus, drive yourself, family members, walking, or door-to-door transportation. When you develop transportation skills, you can go to more places and access more types of transportation options. Transportation skills will also help you to be safe when you navigate in the community. Have you ever noticed traffic lights, safety signs, or speed bumps when you travel with your friends or family? The purpose of these things is to keep you safe. So it is important to know what they mean and how to obey them. Transportation skills will help you to take part in community activities. To live independently, you will need to determine how to get to and from work or college, appointments, and social events. For example, do you plan to get your driver's license and drive yourself? Or will you use public transportation? Both types of transportation require learning new skills to use them. Explore the transportation options and services that are available in your community. Decide which methods of transportation you will use. Focus on developing the skills that you need to be safe. You then will be able to travel in the community. Your transportation skills will give you a head start on the path to independent living.
So I'm gonna close my PowerPoint out and open up the courses themselves to show you actual activities that are separate from the screenshot. So the screenshot on this page is a portfolio activity in the Get Ready for Your Career course. And it actually takes students to another website, the My Next Move, and has them go through a career search and then find more information about how to get that job, what's required for that job, and looking kind of at the job outlook to see if that's a really potential job for them in the future. But because you guys have picked college, I wanted to open up, I wanted to open up Lesson 7's portfolio assignment, because I think this one is really interesting and it's so helpful. Oh, sorry, it opened the wrong. Hold on just a second for me, guys. Sorry about that. Can you all see the Exploring Disability Support Services portfolio assignment? Okay, so this assignment is huge. So any student that wants to go to college, this course itself starts off with understanding the difference between high school and college. And that's really important for parents too. As a college instructor, parents would reach out to me and I'd have to respond with, I'm sorry, but I can't give you any information. Please ask your child to come see me next class, which is frustrating for the parent to hear, but the student needs to be the one advocating for themselves in that college setting. But one of the things that's a huge difference for a lot of our students is that your IEP doesn't follow you to college, but you can still get accommodations that you need to be successful. And every college wants their students to succeed. They don't accept students in the hopes that people are going to drop out. They want everyone that walks through their doors to leave with a certificate or a diploma or whatever their goal had been. And so they have services set aside, but you have to seek them out. They don't come to you. They don't knock on dorm doors and say, hey, do you have an identified disability? Do you need help in your classes? That's not how it works. You have to search it out. So this portfolio activity has students go to the colleges that they're interested in. Now, you'll notice there are 3 colleges on here, and that's because the previous portfolio activity was identify 3 colleges you're interested in. And so these are 3 colleges that the student is interested in, and then they have to find the name of the disability support office, the process for registering as an individual with a disability, what documents are required, And I will tell you, knowing that before you graduate high school is huge, because your high school file has a lot of those documents in it that you can easily ask for copies while you're still there. That's easier to do than after you graduate. How current must the documentation be? If the last time you were assessed was in 3rd grade, it's probably too old, but each college has its own requirements. So asking that question. What accommodations do they offer? Some colleges offer more than others, or a different variety of, and that's a great conversation to have. How many disability support counselors do they have, depending on the size of the college? That's going to vary. The name and telephone number of the contact person, get that now. Have those conversations before you even apply, because if you reach out to that person and they never reach back, is that college really the best choice for you? I would expect that you want to have a relationship, going into it that feels positive. And then any additional information you gather. I know a lot of families that, as they're in that junior year progression, are going and visiting colleges and universities and doing that tour through the admissions office. If you're doing that, set up another appointment at the Disability Services office and have those conversations. Take this sheet with you as a student and get that information in person. You've seen the campus, you've seen the disability support office, you're making that connection to decide whether that college is really going to be right for you or not. I'm going to exit out of here for a second. The next thing we wanted to talk about was the expanding your knowledge activities. And this, I'm also going to pull from Get Ready for College. Oops. In this section, there's a whole lot of choices for students to find a little bit more information about college options. But I think what's really cool is articles like review the 10 steps to picking the right school. Living in Virginia, we hear a lot about Virginia Tech, and we hear a lot about UVA. Those are both relatively big schools. UVA is relatively big. Virginia Tech seems huge. And so thinking in terms of maybe Virginia Tech and Christopher Newport and ODU all have the major that I'm interested in. Let me look at the size of each school. Let me look at where they're located. How far are they from my house? It needs to be related to your goals for your career, but also bringing in those preferences. Because if you are a person that needs more individualized attention, then you probably want to avoid those schools that have classes that seat 300 students, because you might feel like you're lost in that crowd. Or you might want to be in that huge classroom, in that big auditorium, and on that big campus. And that's not a choice that any of us can make for someone else. It really has to be student-centered. So a lot of these expanding your knowledge activities get to the heart of which college or university, or which top 3 colleges and universities meet your specific needs. And that's really a cool activity. And then we have those fascinating facts. And I wanted to pull up this one, since you also check a whole lot on that Get Ready for Independent Living course, a fascinating fact from the Independent Living course. So I will get this fascinating fact. And this one, so this section of the course is all about healthy relationships. So the key points in healthy relationships and independent living were that there are 5 characteristics of healthy relationships. that you need to be honest and respectful, and you should expect people to be honest and respectful to you. Talks a lot about how to meet new people in places. In school, our friends are almost always dictated by the school we attend and the neighborhood we live in, or maybe some of the activities that we participate in that our parents have chosen for us. And as we get older and we leave high school, we don't have a built-in network of friends because those people live down the street. So if we want to make new friends, how do we do that? And how do we do that in a way that is safe, but is also fun and engaging, and we're meeting friends that have the same interests, and it is fulfilling to have friends that like to hang out with you. The other piece on the healthy relationship side, you'll notice on here, 6, 7, and 8 are all about social media, because we have a lot of friends, and I'm going to say friends, on social media that really are acquaintances. And knowing the difference between a friend and a follower. And I know that right now there's kids get really excited about, I have 500 followers. Well, do 500 people really need to know your business? And so thinking in terms of who's really a friend, who should you accept friend requests from, how to look at your privacy settings is one of the activities. And talking with trusted adults about how you have your social media set up if you choose to use social media, and then celebrating the benefits of relationships on social media. So if you have family or friends that move far away, that's a great way to engage with them. But then being careful what you put out there, because once you put something out there, it's out there forever, and you really can't take it back. And so some of those skills get into depth in that healthy relationships section. Those are the 3 courses and the main components of them. And I wanted to go through a few tips for using these courses in the way that's the most productive for you. So the first is, think about how you use the course. If you are a practitioner that you work with small groups of students, either in like a counseling arena or an education arena, these are great courses to use as a group and to guide students through them. These are also great courses for parents to use with their students or with their children in a one-on-one, having that conversation about all of these things, because it's not being directed by mom or dad. And I don't know if this is the same for you all, but if Katie were to tell my child to do something through the course, my child would do it. And if I were to tell my child the same exact words at the same exact time, I'd get the so it's kind of fun that you get to, hey, let's do this together. Let's go through this. And I think, and I've told folks before, I'm not sure how I fill out these career interest inventories, but I always think it's fun to do it with my students or with my children, so they can see where I fall in my, your top 3 recommended careers, to see if any of them come out to be education, or sometimes they come out to be a little bit quirky, depending on what I choose, and just playing around with it to see the fun of it. But doing the process with your students or with your children can be really powerful. The other thing is just to make sure you have the right tools, and it says it before you register for the course, but you do need to have access to a computer. You do have to have an email to register, and you do have to have internet access with Adobe Flash Player to get the most of those videos. And I don't think I mentioned before, but I definitely want to make sure you guys know that there are transcripts for every single video. So if you are using this and you don't think the videos are as engaging as we do, you can print the transcript. Or if that's your preferred learning style, I'm a print and highlight kind of girl, so I get it. But they're there for you or your students to use depending on their strengths and preferences. The third is collaborate. And I say this in a really broad sense. Now, I talked about at the beginning how all of the information in these courses leads to phenomenal information for an IEP team. But it's also important for youth to be able to tell their parents, like, this is what I'm figuring out. I know that you want me to be a doctor, but I'm really interested in becoming a accountant. And I make that face because it's tax time, right? That's a neat conversation to have. And it's really cool to see all of these things clicking with youth as they go through this process and they see, oh, I really am great at math, but I'm not so great at science. Where's a career that I can go that I can use that strength in math and work with groups of people, and following that path and figuring it out is really so cool. The other piece is, if you are an educational case manager and you are working with students and helping students with the IEP process, if you are not already using student-led IEPs, if you have a student go through this course, their voice is going to be deeply embedded in all of the planning for your present level and your transition pages. And it's a perfect opportunity to have your students share the portfolio activities they did with the IEP team. And then reflecting and revising those goals on those transition pages to make sure they're matching exactly what the student has determined to be their goal and their action plan. In fact, if they've told you what their goal is, then that really should be that goal on the transition plan page. And if they've made an action plan, some of those action steps might end up being coordinated activities, and it all works so beautifully together. And that's really the goal, right? It's for us all to work together to make sure that our students get to where they want to be. I did want to share two other resources that are available. They're also on CTI's website, and they are very helpful for a variety of different students and student ability levels. What has been created is this career planning toolkit, and it links to the Get Ready for Your Career course. So if you have students or a child that might have difficulty accessing the course independently, and you really want to facilitate it in a very scripted and formatted facilitation, you can use this career planning toolkit. It offers additional activities outside of the Get Ready for Your Career course that align with the goals of that course, that might be more accessible to students of differing levels. And then we also have the Workplace Readiness Toolkit, that is a series of activities that are designed to be completed in the home setting after some instruction in the school setting. These were created early on in the pandemic when there was so much virtual learning, and we didn't want folks to lose momentum on all of the great work-based learning activities that are happening in schools around Virginia. So group came up with a ton of activities that you can do, or you can share with parents, or if you're a parent, you can just use to practice at home, that ties into all of these skills that students are learning at school. And a lot of them focus on those soft skills, which when you talk to employers, those are the skills employers are looking for, because I can teach someone how to work at a specific job task easier than I can teach someone to think creatively or to resolve a conflict. And so those skills are all built into this Workplace Readiness Toolkit. Now, before I really ask questions, or offer time for you to ask questions, I wanted to show you the CTI website and one more resource for you. So the CTI website is at centerontransition.org, and it looks just like this. And if you scroll about halfway down, you see this blue section that says CTI News Blast and has a place for you to put your email address in and subscribe. So every Wednesday, CTI puts out a news blast about things that are happening in the world of transition. So if this is something that you are interested in, or you know it's coming for your personal children, or you're moving to a classroom where you're supporting youth that are transition age, I highly recommend signing up for this. It's 3 or 4 little tidbits of information that you can choose to open up and read more about, or forward on to somebody else you think might be interested. So the one from yesterday had access to some resources that PTSI, the parent organization, is sharing. I've seen advertisements for lunch and learn sessions come through the weekly news blast. And then anytime we have a new publication or a new course or a new opportunity for youth or practitioners, it comes out in that weekly news blast. And once again, just like with the courses, you're not going to get emails all the time. This is a once a week email, but it is really helpful. I think when I became an administrator and I worked with transition age students, it was one of the first things that someone told me to do. And I was so grateful, because then I could sign up for, oh, I need to know more about Medicaid waivers. Let me sign up for that webcast. Or I need to know more about how to write a transition goal. Let me sign up to find more information about that. And so just to kind of keep you guys in the know. And so now, if you would like to, we have a few minutes. If you have any questions, you want to put them in the chat. Katie's going to help me facilitate that. And the other thing is, if you don't have a question, but you have a burning topic that you want more information about that you haven't seen, I'm just kind of gathering some feedback on, is there something else you want to know related to transition, because that's what CTI does. Go ahead and throw that in the chat too, and I'll make note of those.
Wonderful. Thank you, Karen. That was really informative, and I've already gone in and registered for one of the courses so I can look around. So thank you. And I just was thinking, while people were typing and stuff, I did put the CTI website in the chat so everybody can click right out to where you were talking about. So that should be helpful. And we do have our first question coming in. It says, what about ACTs for students? Is that, that's testing, right? Oh, wait, hold on, you're muted, Karen.
I know I lost my unmute button there for a second.
Sorry.
So ACTs. Oh, okay. So the best I can tell you is, first, look at the colleges you're interested in before you register for any big test. Those tests are not cheap. And if your college requires ACT, take ACT. If it doesn't, don't. The second is, there is a way through any sort of College Board testing to apply for accommodations. And that's typically done, in my past experience in a school-based position, was done in combination with the school counseling office. So I would recommend reaching out to case manager or school counselor for them to work in combination to fill out some paperwork. And caregiver is also going to have to fill out some paperwork, because that is, from what I recall, a lengthier process. And then I also saw a question about driver's licenses. So that's a fantastic question. And that really is dependent on which school division you are living in. There are some school divisions that have teachers that are trained to do a more in-depth version of driver's education to help students work towards that driver's license. There's also some of the resources for independent living, the Centers for Independent Living. Some have courses for students with disabilities specific towards getting a driver's license. So I would defer to the Centers for Independent Living for that.
There was a question about getting the link to the courses. Oh, and Judy and I both put that in right about the same time there. So that's the direct link to look at the courses available at CTI. And then we had another one that said, we are trying to partner with an employer on a new program, training students utilizing drones. Is there any support from your organization for a program such as this?
Robin, that's a fantastic question. And I'm going to be really honest and tell you that I have no idea, but I am going to make sure that I write that down. And if you, I'm going to, on the next screen, let me just go ahead and flip to it. And that way you have it in front of you. Oh, maybe I can't. Hold on.
And while you're doing that, I guess my question to that would maybe be, I guess, is this maybe a school system situation that's trying to partner with an employer? Is that maybe just for clarification, Robin?
Yeah, that would be great. And Robin, my email's up here. I'm going to make a note of it, but if you send me an email, then I'll have your email address and I can find out the answer to that and kind of get more information from you, and we can chat.
Okay. They will be partnered at some point, just made contact with the employer. So, I mean, I think there is have you seen programs, Karen, that where there's partnerships between schools and employers out in the community like that?
Oh, absolutely. And we do work, some of our demonstration projects include business partnerships. So if it's information about building business partnerships and, expanding business partnerships and, some connections with people who are doing that already, that's something that I can easily help with.
That's great. Robin says, thank you. Any other questions for Karen? Now that y'all have her email address too, you might see some of those come through in email, Karen.
That's perfect, because then I don't have to admit out loud that I don't know the answer. I can just find the answer and then email it back to you.
Yeah. Got it.
I really appreciate everybody's time today. Thank you so much. And I hope that you register for these courses with your students or your children, and that you find them as valuable as I have found them when I've had the opportunity to use them with you.
Yes. Lots of thank yous for Karen and some applause. I love it. That's perfect. Okay. Well, I think it doesn't look like any more questions coming through today, Karen. So thank you for being with us. This was just really invaluable. So everyone, enjoy your rest of your week. Yep. Bye, everyone.